who are once in a while stranded with the broiler birds. Peanut butter as well has been increased to 60%. This is OD that we all know about, but we've been receiving OD from as far as the United States, and this is going to help focus on our local OD. Potato and other crisps, we have a lot of crisp manufacturers in Uganda, but we still have been receiving a lot of crisps from outside the region, and this is an area that we are focusing on. Then we have onions, garlic. Garlic, as you know, Uganda is a net importer of garlic, and these have been also increased to 60% to help our local farmers also take a bit of the share of the market for purposes of increasing our market share. Then chocolates, as you know, Uganda also produces a lot of chocolate. Sorry, a lot of cocoa from our own cocoa. So we want to encourage local manufacturing of chocolate from our own cocoa, and indeed this is an aspect that government is focusing on. Then we have had inputs for the manufacture of furniture. As you are well aware, His Excellency the President has been promoting furniture assembly, has been moving around the city, giving away machinery. So to promote and boost that effort, the government of Uganda has remitted the imports for the manufacture of furniture from 25% to 10% to promote local furniture production. Then we have tarpaulins. Tarpaulins are also used largely in our agricultural setting to dry coffee, to cover trucks, for shelter as well. The rate has been increased to 35% because as a country, we have local capacity to manufacture these tarpaulins. So it's an area that government is focusing on. Then we're also good net producers of ceramic toilet seats. These ceramic toilet seats have been put in, to protect our manufacturer in Kapeka and any other that is going to come up for purposes of import substitution. Then the government has also been very generous in trying to promote local transport or haulage. So the load tractors for semi-trailers, those are the front part of the trailer that pulls the trailer. The rate has been reduced to 0% for these very vehicles for purposes of having inroads. Then the Fuso fighter, or the vehicle which is having a gross weight exceeding 5 tons but not exceeding 20, the rate has been reduced from 25 to 10. And this is for purposes of promoting movement of goods from upcountry, carrying cassava, carrying sweet potatoes, carrying cattle, carrying matoke to the city center. So the rate has been reduced to 10%. Then we have those, what we call the 12-tire trucks, or maguru kumi and above. Those have a gross vehicle weight exceeding 20 tons. The rate has been reduced to 0%. The desire is to help us compete favorably within the region, and this is a serious government intervention. Then Mama Kit. Mama Kit is a health product for expectant mothers. The import duty has been reduced to 0%. It has a razor blade, it has a gauze, it has cotton, it has a cord for tying the umbilical cord. All these are critical for expectant mothers, and to avail them in the hospitals, there's VAT exemption as well as import duty reduction on the same. Borders is an area that government is also very much interested in. The rates have been reduced from 25% to 10% for the complete knockdown motorcycles. Then Uganda has also capacity to manufacture tires, pneumatic tires of rubber, the kind used on motorcycles. We have a company called CCLE Rubber. They produce quality tires that we're actually even exporting to the external, outside the EAC, as well as within the EAC. And the rate has been increased to 35% to protect this local manufacturer. Then we have galvanized wire, local manufacturers as well producing this galvanized wire, the galvanized iron sheets, the pre-painted iron sheets. The rates have all been increased because as Uganda, we have serious capacity to produce these products for our local market and even export. Then we have had jacquard material for making spring mattresses. The jacquard material is not yet manufactured in the country, but to promote local mattress manufacturing for companies such as Mega Industries, Euroflex, Crestform, the rate has been reduced to 10% for 1 year. Then we have penstock pipes. As you are well aware, the country is in the drive to produce more and more of electricity. So the penstock pipes help direct power into the turbines and direct water into the turbines. And these are big pipes that are not available in the region. So the rates have been reduced from 25 to 0 to help more of these hydropower plants take shape. Also to inform you, dear listeners and viewers, the aspect of liquid petroleum gas, the cylinders are locally manufactured in Uganda. The country has capacity to produce cylinders, and the rate has been increased from 0% to 25% to promote local manufacturing. Those who are not aware, we have a company called Burhani Industries. They make quality gas cylinders that we can source locally without importing. Then we have items such as sausages. Sausages are also at 60% from 25%. The sausages, as you know, we have a number of companies that manufacture sausages in Uganda. We don't need to import sausages, so the rate has been increased to 60%. Then we have chewing gum. Chewing gum has been also increased to 35%. We have a number of companies making the same. So this is purposely for import substitution. Another important move that the government has made is on tomato sauce. Tomato sauce, as you are well aware, we produce a lot of tomatoes. So to encourage local production of these products and make them have a longer shelf life, the imported tomato sauce has been increased to 60% to help protect or encourage local production of the same. We have also been importing mineral water from outside the country, and as far as countries like UK and most of Europe, mineral water has been coming in. So we're putting a rate of 60% to try and protect our local manufacturers of mineral water. Then lubricants. Lubricants, you are well aware that we have local manufacturers of lubricants. That includes lubricants and greases. All these have been increased to 35% as well to promote local production. Then we have soap. Many manufacturers of soap in Uganda has also been increased to 60%. Then when you go to Nkuruma Road, we have people who produce good pictures, designs, photographs, instructional charts and diagrams, all printed matter that in this regard is catered for under this current change. The rate is now 35 instead of 25%. Then Uganda also manufactures blankets. Blankets too have been increased to 35%. And the 25% is 35% will encourage local production of these items. Toothbrushes, the import duty as well is at the rate of 60%. If you notice in the supermarkets, the bulk of the toothbrushes were imported. Now we're slowly getting inroads into the sector as well. Wire rods, electrodes, we are producers of electrodes as well. And matchboxes, we have also the rate fixed to $1.35 per kilogram, whichever is higher, to protect factories such as Kigezi Industries, Mekapasi Industries, etc., etc. That said, those are the few highlights, but notable among is that as we promote these local manufacturers, there is a list of Uganda's raw materials, which can also be shared on this forum, that the manufacturer can take advantage of. But the textile sector, the shoe manufacturing sector, all those are areas that government is focusing on for purposes of import substitution and job creation. I thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Yes, blessings.
Yes.
You know, the list can be very big. And I don't know how much time we have. And that's
something I think his network is a bit off and on, but maybe that they could add was the schedule where people can check.
Okay, I think, let me try and see if I can share this schedule. We can share the schedule. We are going to upload that document on the discussion forum. We are going to attach.
All right, so that even those that have not been exhaustively mentioned, they could check and see if there are services or commodities that they deal in are tax exempt, or if they need to pay taxes, so that they start from there. Maybe I would want to ask this question to Joseph, but I feel like it majorly belongs to URA specifically. But maybe Joseph could give a hint. There are very many business people and companies that have come out to complain that URA sits back and comes to give them assessments and payments and that are unreasonable. They're not taking in efforts to make sure that, one, they sensitize the masses, and secondly, they get down to business people and try to inform them of these different procedures, and also that the customer care of URA is not the most desirable. So I would want to know from, probably Joseph can start and Vincent can take it on, the policies that URA has put in place to make sure that this collection of taxes is a bit effective, but also very informative for people in businesses.
Hello?
Thank you, President. I think that question would best be answered by Vincent.
It is okay, Joseph, let me answer it.
Okay.
It's okay, answer it. First and foremost, I think earlier on in the discussion, Joseph tried to underscore the circumstances under which URA will extend, I don't want to call it impose or slap or an assessment to a taxpayer. First of all, the tax structure puts the responsibility on the taxpayer to, first of all, register, file, and pay within the prescribed time. We will only come in when the taxpayer has failed to fulfill their obligations. And like Joseph indicated, however, even when we come in and give you an estimated assessment, but the law still provides room for you to explain out yourself or to provide alternative evidence. The principal thing, you must have the facts to support your objection of the assessment. And we normally review those assessments or once the taxpayer objects. But the principal thing for all of us to take, you must have supportive evidence. Now, of course, one would ask, how do we determine the estimated assessment? We look at how has your account been running? How does your ledger look like? What's the historical record? For example, if somebody has been filing a return of say maybe 100 million payable and has been paying, and all of a sudden you don't see him, file a return or even make a payment return. Of course, through our customer care system, we should be able to find out what is actually happening, okay? And if there's no formal indication that the business closed, an assessment is automatically supposed to be flagged off using historical record. But as well as the other thing which the public needs to know, which shouldn't be really confidential information, is that every person who is actively participating within the economy, trading and selling and buying, because remember, your purchase today is somebody's expense, which he needs to reflect in their tax return. So we also collect information on the taxpayer, whether they know, whether they don't know. Because once I make a payment to you in your business, it's an expense I have to reflect in my return. I have to make sure I reflect that transaction. So we collect information from different sources and then generate that estimate return. On the issue of saying we do this without educating taxpayers, I can understand partly that maybe we've not educated everybody, but I also believe that a lot has been done to make sure that we actually educate the taxpayers. What we are doing going forward is making sure that the tax education can be done by URA. The tax education can be done by URA working with other associations and business associations. And I can tell you, for the informal and the semi-informal, the likes of Casita, the Will and all that, I think we've done a lot of work in those groups. Going forward, even working with the people like the tax agents, we want to encourage people that where you are not able to articulate your tax matters, we would like to make sure that you work with a registered tax agent. I'm sure Libra is a registered tax agent where my brother Okuja works. So we also would like to make sure that taxpayers actually take on that responsibility. We have introduced a new program called the VITA, Voluntary Income Tax Assessment Program, where we are trying to make sure that if there are people within the communities who feel that they would like to work with URA or to have anything with URA in terms of their tax education, we train people and give them the best skills, at least to know how to register for it, to know how to file, to know how to make a presumptive tax payment, as a way of making sure that where URA is not able to support, there are people within the communities, the business communities, who can be handy in having a little bit more advanced knowledge and practice on how to help the taxpayers who may not be as sophisticated probably as the system or the process may require. So that we are doing. So, true, there may be those we have not reached. We are yet to go there. And if you've been able to follow us, we are actually doing a lot of videos, online videos on our YouTube, on our Facebook, on our Twitter, making sure that we can actually saturate this information more proactively to ensure that the taxpayers can actually have access to this kind of information.
Thank you so much, Vincent, for that clarification. Now, the other issue that will come in, probably a suggestion, is that we tend to assume that most of our business people ably understand English, which is not very true, because there are so many people who are in the business world that they don't appreciate the language that much. So maybe what URA can do is put it in different languages, also have access to radio stations that have different languages so that they're able to appreciate the information on a language that they best understand. So you also hinted about tax agents, and it's something that now Joseph has to come in on this one. How does one qualify to be a tax agent? Yes, please.
Before Joseph comes in, it is true, people think we interact with the taxpayers with the sophisticated languages. I can comfortably tell you, not true. We have a lot of tax literature we have translated into different languages. If you see, I don't know whether the camera there can see, what I have here is tax literature for a small business. Not sure what this language is, but it says, if you take okola okuwangaza business yo. I don't know, Blessing should tell me what this means, but this is a salary license. You see this? Okay, a salary license. I'm sure this one is different from the other one. Then another one, engeri yokuchusa nofuna kadi y'emmotoka oba logbook empya. So the truth is, we may not be able, we will not have reached, and I'm sure Joseph knows there's another one called Ochulochilo. I don't know what Ochulochilo means, but Joseph knows. We have taken a very deliberate effort to make sure that we translate tax information into different languages. By the way, we have also actually invented tax games. I don't know whether Blessing and the people on the other side have been following us. We have invented tax games, things like snakes and ladders, things like Monopoly, including these cards, playing cards. I think we should give you a pack of our playing cards, including Joseph, whereby when they give you it's a fine, but it's from the taxes. So we have tried to make sure that we drive the tax education message using different innovations and channels that fitting into different circumstances of people. I also want to tell you that on TV, we have different TV series, skits and games. In Uganda, there's one called Kamukamu, which tells people about, for example, the issue of talking about filing returns, keeping documents. I think maybe we need to have a separate engagement with the National Chamber of Commerce, and maybe we have a specific dialogue and discussion on what is it that we can do to work with your people. But I can say, yes, we may not be there, but the journey started. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vincent. I really appreciate that you have taken up to take it in different languages, because it's one of the issues that had come up from our members and also from the business people. And I want to assume that also this literature appears on your website, so that when people who are logged in get to the website, they're able to access it for their own information. Thank you so much for that. We move on to Joseph. I know we are chasing time, but we would want to know, they talked about tax agents. So we want to know, can we qualify for tax agents? What do tax agents do? What are their benefits? How can the business people also contribute to URA by being tax agents?
Thank you, Blessing. Before I answer the question on tax agent, I want to go back to the previous question that was relating to someone asked why URA delays to come and either audit or review the activities of taxpayers and then issue them with big assessments. But what I want to say in response to that is, anybody who is worried about the appearance or presence of URA is normally someone who is not fulfilling his or her tax obligations. Because the law expects you to make a correct declaration to URA. Now, if you make correct declarations to URA, it doesn't matter whether URA comes to you after 10 years, because in most cases, they will find nothing additional on which they are going to impose on you, as long as you are making correct declarations. But a person who is making fictitious declarations will get worried about the presence of URA, because if URA comes after 5 years and they audit you and they discover that you have been making false declarations, the assessment you are going to get is going to be huge, plus penalties and interest, and that is what scares taxpayers. But if you comply with your obligations on a regular basis, then you have no business worrying about whether URA comes to you or not. Now, that is where tax agents come in. Now, a tax agent is basically a person who has been registered with URA to assist taxpayers in complying with their tax obligations. So every year, unfortunately this year the process has not been completed or even started. Every year, qualified individuals make an application to URA to be registered as tax agents. And of course, there is a vetting process that is undertaken by you. There's a specific committee that undertakes the vetting to ensure that the individuals or partnerships or companies that have applied to be registered as tax agents actually have individuals who are qualified to provide tax services to the various taxpayers. Now, once you are registered as a tax agent, then you become a contact person with URA in representing your clients. Because as far as the law is concerned, if you are not a registered taxpayer, rather a tax agent, then you cannot represent a taxpayer before URA. URA can only interface or interact with registered tax agents who are doing business on behalf of their clients. And these are persons who are qualified in tax, they understand the tax law, they understand financial accounting, they understand tax accounting, and they're able to assist taxpayers to comply with their obligations. So that list is normally published on the URA web portal. Unfortunately, this year, the process has not yet been completed, but I'm sure it will start soon. And of course, every taxpayer is expected to appoint a tax agent to assist them with complying with their tax obligations. Now, if you are using a qualified tax agent, because believe you me, there are very many quack agents out there who pretend to know and they end up misguiding taxpayers. So you need to employ a qualified tax agent to assist you with your routine or daily tax compliance, such that you do not have to worry about URA coming to visit you at any time. And that is where we as tax agents play a very, very important role in supplementing the work of URA by assisting taxpayers to comply with their tax obligations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear panelists. I have so many other questions, but I'm going to first leave my questions and concentrate on the questions that have been shared in the chat by our participants, so that we're able to answer some of them. Now, the first question is, it comes from Nelson. Nelson says, what system does URA use to come up with MV tax, since the vessel valuations are dependent on their documents other than the initial cost paid for the motor vehicle? I think that's motor vehicle. I'm not very sure, but MV, let me just stick to MV. Yes, I think that question goes to URA. Vincent, you can pick on anyone from who can.
No problem. So is this question saying what system does URA use to come up with the motor vehicle tax?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. First and foremost, ideally, the taxpayer is required when they import a vehicle to declare the right cost of that vehicle by way of presenting the invoice that they secured from the taxpayer. And that is the price actually paid or payable for that vehicle is what we ought to use to determine the tax payable for the vehicle. However, and that still happens for other vehicles that are new. However, for used vehicles, we recognize that there's a lot of misrepresentation of the price of the vehicles, of the invoices that are presented to URA, and as such, URA introduced a new system whereby we actually determine the value of the vehicle, which of course, because of the practices of some few people, it ends disadvantaging others. So what this means is that if you go and buy your vehicle at say maybe $2,000, it may be you bought it at $2,000, but for us in our records, in our value guidelines, we may have established that although you bought it at $2,000, we feel the actual price for that vehicle for that particular year of manufacture is maybe $3,000. So we use customs values that are determined by URA and not necessarily the invoice that you present. And that arose because of many people not being faithful in presenting the actual invoices. You know of how NASA road works, and even some of the suppliers have gone into this kind of scheme where they even provide you a blank invoice. We've actually intercepted courier bags by DHL, and some of the documentation, the invoices in the courier bags is very different from what they present to us. Because as URA, we do what we call controlled delivery. We allow for that kind of, we intercept maybe a courier bag where we suspect something may not be right. We get out that copy. We allow the taxpayer to go ahead and declare, and he declares a very different thing. Meanwhile, for you have the controlled copy, which was showing the correct invoice. So, yes, number one, it ought to be the price actually paid or payable. If not, in the case of the used vehicles, we use a predetermined customs value as the basis.
All right, thank you so much. I think that is very clear. Okay, then the other question goes to, still Vincent. What could the taxpayer do if the objection decision, which was done during the total lockdown, is there a chance for review of such decisions? The objection decisions that were made during the total lockdown period?
First of all, from a process point of view, all objections are made online. Okay, so to start with, whether there was a lockdown or not, the objection is online, does not require you to have a physical appearance. But if there are any circumstances that would probably, or situations that would provide a contrary evidence, that objection decision can be reviewed. But principally, the taxpayer is free to object online. Doesn't have to come to URA to submit their objection.
Thank you so much. The other question, I think this can be taken by Joseph, says that it's from Alvin. It says that does the proposed 6% withholding on purchases have a threshold, or does it apply to any commodity, any purchases of any amount?
I believe he's referring to the 6% on purchase of an asset, which actually came in 2019. So that particular law is operational. But the 6% is on the gross amount that you are paying for that particular asset. So you withhold on the gross amount, irrespective of whatever amount it is, because there is no threshold that has been applied. The question of threshold only arises for the special designated withholding tax agents, and there is a list currently of about 5,000 taxpayers who are specially designated as withholding agents. Those are the ones who withhold if they are making a payment in aggregate exceeding 1 million shillings. That is the only situation where there is a threshold. But all the other kinds of withholding tax, the tax is applied on the gross payment. That is the tax base, the gross payment, and there is no threshold. The threshold only applies for those special designated withholding agents who are making payments for goods or services. But for assets, it is on the gross amount that is being paid for the asset, and you are required to withhold 6%.
Thank you so much, Joseph. This comes from Junior. Junior says that, thank you all. For companies in agricultural value addition dockets are meant to be exempted on some taxes. What actions process is one meant to take to benefit from this arrangement? Any of you can take it up.
Sorry, can we get it again?
He says that for companies in agricultural value addition dockets that are meant to be exempted from some taxes, what actions or process can one take to benefit from this arrangement?
Okay, let me ask my colleague here to respond to it. I'm going to ask Solomon to respond to it, but I thought it was responded to. No, not